Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, friends, wherever you are. Where are you, in fact? And the question of the day is, how are you enjoying your neighbors? How do you live together? What do your neighbors do for you? And what do you do for your neighbors? What kind of community and communication do you have over there? This is so important in Corona times, isn't it? Because all we have really is our neighbors. Otherwise, it would be complete isolation, and we have to think very creatively about how is this affecting everyone. So today we are celebrating something else as well. We are celebrating the middle of our meetings, the middle of the alphabet. We are doing, as you have noticed, a Z number of meetings. We started at A and today we are at letter N. So what happens in the middle of a course or of a class? Recap and exam sometimes. Yes, we're gonna have a bit of both today. We're going to recap all the M days that we have gone through, and we're going to apply them to one specific case. That case, I don't know if you can hear it. It's been extremely loud all day. That case is my neighbor playing extremely loud music of a kind that I don't particularly like or endorse, but I have to put up with, and it's so loud that I could not concentrate for most of the day, and that's also the reason why I've delayed the meeting with you, hoping that it will go down. In the previous days, somehow I managed to find those 20 minutes lull in the middle of the blasting music and I was able to record it. But now, today, I think the neighbor was a bit more inspired and I could not find those 20 minutes. I think it might have just happened now. Yes, so we can talk in peace and quiet. So, having said that, this is, as you might have guessed, my excellent opportunity to take you through the M number of steps that we have discussed so far and apply them to my neighbor. Yes, I will have to have this very difficult conversation with him. Extremely difficult because my family has gone to speak to them previously and nothing happened. This is not a first timer. This situation has been going on since Easter. But we'll get to that when we get to the traditions part. Let's start step by step, and we started our alphabet by a reward a day. Yes, because in order to do something really well, you have to have a really good incentive. So let me think, what do I want if I do really well? I want a trip to the mountains. I can't do Corona. I have to want something in the house. I want to watch Netflix. No. I want to listen to a whole jazz concert. Yes, I have to find one of those awesome recorded performances that a lot of the concert halls are now putting up, and just watch one of those, not too loud, not in revenge, but just as a wonderful reward for me. That's how we started. A reward a day, a drop of courage, and a sea of fun, because it will take me so much courage to go and find a way to this neighbor's heart. That's my plan. Day B, traditions. The making and the breaking, and finally the learning. And here's a little part of my plan. In Romanian tradition, there's this dance once a week at the weekend. After a full week of very hard work, the youth of a village would gather together and dance hora. This dance, hora, is like a dance in a circle. And this tradition has been adopted by Jews as well, and now they consider it part of their folklore. This hora is an opportunity for all the youth of the village to come together, to listen to live music, to dance, to share a laugh and a chat. We don't have this in the modern village anymore. The best place to meet is at church, and not many people do that, or there used to be a bar and there's no bar anymore. So I think my neighbor may just about be trying to create some sort of a sense of a community, some atmosphere, at least in this part of the village, to play some music, to... No, it's not wishful thinking. It's part of my strategy, and it's extremely important. Because remember, we talked about how important it is to see the good in the other person. You have to build some bridges. We'll get to this later. For now, one of my assumptions, which I will work with, is that the neighbor is trying to create a hora-like atmosphere and a sort of music opportunity for this part of the village. Day C, framing stories. I will go there, and of course I won't start going, yeah, you're playing music so loud, I don't like your music, I can't do my work. No. I will come and start explaining that, by the way, my dear neighbor, you are famous. You're famous because you've been the topic of one of my podcasts, one of my Facebook live sessions. And how amazing is this that I have had the opportunity to apply what I've been preaching to create a beautiful relationship here with you. Let me explain what I've been doing. I've been taking step by step, offering people solutions to the problems that are emerging during this crisis, during this corona struggling community times. And you have been so fortunate, without even knowing it, to form part of it. So thank you very much, and let me tell you how you could help me further, because I have a community of people who are a little bit bothered because they can't hear me very well when I speak. That's occasionally due to the noise, to the music, to the sound of, to the volume of the music that you are playing. So I was wondering if whether in the spirit of neighborly relations, you might be able to reduce the sound, the volume of the music. And I won't venture any further. I have a few other options, but we will talk about them later on. So, Day D, Ordnung und Disziplin. Yes, it's not just about order and discipline. I have had to be extremely disciplined today to be able to go through my day without being too heavily affected by my neighbor. But this is community, and at the end of the day, it's the courage and the authenticity of each one of us, our contribution through presence, through dedication to some ideals of community and of communal living that can help change the situation. So with a lot of discipline on my own emotions, I will try to create the best framework of mind that I can gather in order to transform our relationship, which is very tense at the moment, at least from one side, from my side, and transform it into a very beautiful neighborly relation. Day E, efficiency. I have had to pull all my possible tricks and tips together to make this day efficient and not go to waste. On the efficiency days, remember we talked about two things: how I listen to my articles in the headphones. So I have over here, actually they are downstairs, but I have these huge headphones which cover everything and there's no external sound coming through there. So I've just had to listen to more articles today, which was great. I found a creative way out. On the same efficiency day, day E, we talked about how I baked banana breads for my neighbors. Now, I delivered those banana breads to the neighbors that we have more communication and cooperation with. The neighbors who come and feed our animals occasionally when we're away, the neighbors who we share going shopping with, and so on. Also the neighbor who built this very room that I'm in. Yes, that was that neighbor from over there. So those banana breads, I think, would be an excellent option, making another round of banana breads and offering one of these to this neighbor. In a way, recognizing that we are neighbors, and in another way, trying to set the tone for our interaction, for our future interaction. I haven't decided yet whether it will be in the same occasion, in the same conversation. We'll talk about that later, and I'm happy to get your thoughts on that. Day F, the eternal return home. Home is no longer just a place where you return. Home is where we, all of us, spend most of our days and most of our waking hours. They are the places where we have to work, live, breathe, sleep, everything. So I hope to be able to use this argument also with my neighbor and explain how difficult it is to have no place to go. Had the corona lockdown not been in place, maybe the situation would be different, and that's probably also why so far we didn't need to discuss this personally, because I was going to the library to work. Now I can't go to the library anymore. So day G, empathy and being children. Yes. So who is playing this music, which is again becoming louder? It's my neighbor, who I guess he enjoys having a stage and hearing himself and being, important and loud. But also his daughter, who's between 7 and 12, I'm not sure, and she has a very loud voice. Then also I think occasionally other people come and play or sing. So look, who would not like to be on a stage and to be able to express themselves? I have this stage with you, this online virtual community and communion with you, and I'm enjoying it so much. Like a child, you could say. From this angle, I can and I do empathize with them and understand how important it is to have some kind of place, a stage where you can affirm your talents and your identity. Yes, speaking of children, we are down to day 8, family, integrating and compartmentalizing. Compartmentalizing, such a difficult word to pronounce and such a difficult thing to do. Why? Because very often there are so many external influences that it's difficult to separate this rational brain from this analytic brain, from this emotional brain or interaction, if you will. And it's very difficult to separate friends from family, from neighbors, from our online interactions. Therefore, compartmentalizing better, more carefully, with more awareness would enable us to maintain the focus on one specific interaction at a time. By doing so, we can clarify our emotions, our intentions, and our contributions to those interactions. Therefore, I will be very careful when I go to speak to my neighbor not to be under the influence of any other emotional factors, whether from the family or outside, and just to go with a fresh mind and perspective. I will first try to figure out my neighbor's desire and needs, whether it's the basic needs of recognition, security, affirmation, or whether it's a desire to offer his daughter a stage for singing and for practicing her talent, whether it's a worry, an interest in creating a different atmosphere in the village. I have to and I want to recognize these needs and listen very carefully to the story from his side. Incentivize him to speak as much as possible. Number 2, I will try to establish a time framework. For instance, up until Easter, this all started at Easter. Up until Easter, we didn't quite have this problem because there was a fast, and during fasting times, people over here are pretty careful with keeping noise down, reducing the amount of swearing, sometimes even smoking, for sure sexual activity. And some of this is wishful thinking and some of this is happening. But in the last week, for sure, there was no music. Afterwards, however, when Jesus resurrected, the spirit of music also resurrected in my neighbor, and it started blasting throughout the whole neighborhood. So since then, I have been having this trouble. But it probably won't last forever, only up until the corona quarantine will last. And so I can frame it to him in this way. Look, we have another 2 weeks in which I need to use this space at home as a working space, as a study space, and can you please help me make this environment better, functional for myself and for the people that I work with, whether in consultancy, in my PhD, in giving advice to friends and family. So I can set a time framework, and I can also set some goals, some positive incentive for him, such as, and here is the creativity in creating activities that integrate several needs and desires. My assumption, which I won't use until I verify with him, is that he is trying to create some kind of a hora-like atmosphere. So why not celebrate the end of the quarantine with a party in the field? The field is right next to his house. So his house is on the corner, half of it on the main street and half of it towards the field. So over there we can have a big party, a street party or field party for all the village, or at least our part of the village, for the end of the quarantine, and he can be the DJ. How crazy is that? He gets a stage, he gets an audience, and he gets everyone happy and a sense of community. Wow, ain't I saving the world? I just hope this works so bad. Day I, difficult conversations. Yes. As I said, I will have to make sure I understand the story from his side very clearly. What is his narrative? What is my narrative that I know already? And it's pain and suffering ever since Easter, on a daily basis. But where does he come from? Why did he start? Are all of these assumptions about his stories that I made up, that I imagined, are they true? To what extent? I need to understand his intentions as clearly as possible. Remember, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So even if the effect on me is very problematic, it's very likely that he only has very good intentions. 3, I have to understand his contributions, and he has to understand mine. I can explain very nicely that this level of music, this volume, is seriously affecting me, and I have gone through the specific ways in which this is affecting me, and explain it to him, and then understand how is this affecting him. Number 4, feelings. Again, the feeling conversation, and it's so important. Oof. By now I'm pretty heated, and it's pretty difficult to look at feelings in a non-judgmental, non-triggering way. Why? Because these are the virus programs that are running in the background of every conversation and every interaction that we have. It's very difficult to keep feelings away, to transform them, to use their power, their strength for our purposes and our intentions, and not to let them sabotage our plan. Finally, I will have to, in preparation, gauge the identity that is very important to my neighbor. My presupposition is that he thinks he's a very good singer, and he enjoys singing very much. It's almost clear as the blue sky right now. It's pretty clear. This is my assumption. I have to clarify it with him. What is it about this activity that gives you most pleasure, that you identify with, that is so important to you? Okay, day K, full into difficult conversations. I have to caress this conversation. Number 1, check the story. We've gone through this at large. Number 2, number A. Letter A for affirming the intentions. In other words, I will go and say, my dear neighbor, I understand you have the best intentions, both for yourself, for your family, and for the community. Probably for yourself, you are creating a space at home whereby you can enjoy these difficult times of the quarantine, and you're also creating for your family a nice space, a nice environment where your daughter can practice and can give some nice concerts to the family and to the neighborhood. I understand that you also have the best of intentions in creating in sharing the pleasure of music with all the rest of us. And even if your contribution to my situation, to my personal well-being, and to my interaction with my job is under optimal, I recognize your feelings towards it. Okay. Finally, I support his identity. I mentioned this already. His identity as a good singer, as a father, as a member of the community. And if any hurt or fear will emerge from the conversation, I will try to soothe those. So, in short, I have I've caressed the conversation. Day L, and we have one more. Day L, how to set up these conversations. And we have another abbreviation, which is MEAL. Motion, emotion, alignment, and location. So motion, we had motion before, during, and after. Before, I will not go right now, not in this state. I will first go out and plant some tomatoes or some cucumbers and release some energy, get the oxygen pumping, get myself into mental and emotional shape, and then go. And during the conversation, I will not sit down unless he really invites me and insists, in which case he wouldn't be polite, but I will try to stand up so I keep my physical action-oriented body. Then emotion, I will prepare my emotions as well as I can beforehand. All of this positive thinking about what the intentions, contributions, and emotions of the other person are or may be, all of these contribute to setting myself in such an angle that I can welcome creative thinking together with him. Also, the more I nurture these emotions, these positive emotions, the more my neighbor will feel inclined to mirror them. Okay, alignment. Ooh, we spoke about grounding ourselves and calibrating before a difficult conversation, calibrating our mindset, body set, heart set, and soul set with ourselves and with the other person insofar as possible. Now the most important thing that's left for me to do is just to focus my intention and keep in mind at all times my interest, our shared interests. We will explore these in the next point, but I want to mention two things about location. I can't change this too much. The location will be probably at his gate or inside his house, but I do want to imagine, I want to look carefully at his gate, at his house, at his garden, to really imagine myself in that place, in that position, and try to plan my emotions in that location. Finally, day M, remember, people are the solution. And this is, and only together with people can we figure out our ZOPAs. Our ZOPA is the zone of possible agreement. That's another abbreviation from the negotiations jargon. And the ZOPA can only emerge in cooperation with the neighbor. That's the creative brainstorming that we need to do instead of bargaining over the details. Maybe he has a better idea, a different idea of what can be done in order to solve this situation. I will want to make a judgment between adopting a safe or a curious stance. I would most likely not want to deduce their intentions from my fear of what their intentions may be. For instance, I don't want to deduce from the fact that he's been playing very loud music every day, I don't want to deduce that he doesn't give a damn about everyone else and he's just trying to take the piss. No. I will go and be curious and ask and listen very carefully, very attentively, both to his words and to his body language, and try to figure out from these elements what is the zone of possible agreement. Number 2, I will try to distinguish between the symptoms and the person. The symptoms, the effects that his behavior, his playing music very loudly has on me, probably has nothing to do and should not have anything to do in my mind with the kind of person that he is. Very likely he is an adorable father, a very good neighbor, and a good husband, whatever other titles he may have, but I don't want to interfere with his image of self, with his identity. And I don't want to get him defensive. Defensive people are not creative partners for problem solving. I don't want to blame him for anything. I want to create positive, a pleasant process which would give way to a pleasant relationship. I want to transform this relationship, which at the moment is pretty tense, into a beautiful neighborly relationship. Lastly, saving face is something that will be very difficult for both of us. On my side, because I've already shared with all of you that I have this difficult conversation coming up and it better go well. Otherwise, my reputation as a coach and a PhD student in negotiations is on the line. So this better be one of the most successful negotiations I'm doing. Also, my friends, my family, and my aunt's family also know that I have this plan of dealing with the neighbor. So I better get something out of this. Number two, from his side, he has been playing quite constantly all of this music, and since it hasn't gone down, probably our other neighbors don't mind it so much. So if he goes down, if he stops playing music altogether, whatever our agreement may be, then the other neighbors would potentially look down on him as like, what happened? Did you barge to her? Why? I don't know what the situation is, what the thinking of all of the neighbors is with regards to this, but I have to give him and myself a way of gaining something, of making some gains, showing some gains, while reconciling with our past words and deeds, and of course with our principles. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our recap and application of our difficult conversations chats throughout the past month or so. I hope this makes sense to you, and I hope it's helped you understand how you can apply these ideas of improving difficult conversations to your own situations. And I hope you are using them. Please let me know how it's going. And your challenge for the next time, for our next meeting, is to go through the first half of the alphabet with one difficult conversation that you have to improve. And please share this with anybody who might need some propping, some improvement of their conversation techniques, especially for difficult conversations or negotiations. And see you in 2 days' time. Until then, have a lovely weekend. Bye.